Try to give him to us. So he'll be a guy that, if he shows up and does the exact right thing, he can win the fight. If he don't do the right thing, which I don't see him doing, I don't know why he would at this point in his career.
Took the moving up in weight classes serious. He did the dieting, he did the training. So I feel like when you put in work like that,
right? When you get bigger, you do slow down a little bit, but that doesn't mean he's gonna be ineffective at that weight. I think it's a bona fide good point to make. Sometimes it does wind up that way, but I'll give you Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. Put on weight, was muscular as he moved up the weight classes, and didn't.
Roy Jones Jr. thinks CaneloAlvarez would not be able to handle a fight against TerenceCrawford. He says Canelo doesn't have the same energy or sharpness he used to, and he's disappointed with how Canelo looks now in his career. On the other hand, Jones praised Crawford for being focused, determined, and very skilled. He also said that the difference in weight between the two fighters won't matter much, because Crawford is smart in the ring and has great timing and technique. Jones believes fighting someone as skilled and aggressive as Crawford would show Canelo's weaknesses, and the fight would be much harder for Canelo than people think.
All be predicated upon how well Terence can take his punch. And what I'm seeing is I see a hungry Crawford, a Crawford that has been looking for the opportunity for a long time, finally getting the opportunity, and really ready to grab the opportunity. And with Canelo, I see a guy who not necessarily hungry, but loves to entertain, loves to give us the big fights. Always tries to give the big fights. He finds a way to give us big fights. Not gonna always win them, but he always tries to give them to us. So he'll be a guy that, if he shows up and does the exact right thing, he can win the fight. If he don't do the right thing, which I don't see him doing, I don't know why he would at this point in his career. I don't know. It'll all be predicated upon how well Terence can take his punch.
Yeah. You said you don't think, or you don't look into the weight difference. Why?
When you know how to box, when you're as skillful as Terence Crawford is, weight don't really matter much.
Roy Jones warns that if Canelo goes into the fight too confident, thinking he will easily beat Terence Crawford, he could be in for a big surprise. Jones says that if Canelo underestimates Crawford's skills and game plan, he might end up losing badly and taking a lot of damage in the fight.
It's a hard one to call, and I'm going to tell you why it's a hard one to call. It's a hard one to call because it'll all be predicated upon how Canelo approaches the fight. If Canelo approaches the fight like he's the man and he can box and outbox Terence Crawford, he'll get beat. If he comes out and shows that he really wants to go out and prove the world that he's still the best, he might win. So it all depends on which Canelo come to the dance.
Olympic boxer Omari Jones believes Terence Crawford will beat CaneloAlvarez. He says Crawford is gaining weight for the fight in a smart and careful way, not like other fighters who just bulk up instead of losing speed and movement. Crawford has stayed fast and agile by following the right diet and training plan. Jones thinks this well-planned preparation gives Crawford a big advantage and makes the fight even more in his favor.
And like me personally meeting Crawford several times, it's like the man is just so competitive. It's like I don't even have to say nothing to him. He'll just like, man, when we sparring, it's like his competitiveness is always gonna put him over the edge, and then he just has that like, I'm not gonna let you bully me, or his skill set. And it, I know they talk about Charlo when Charlo moved up, but I feel like it may be a little bit different for Canelo this time around because Crawford took the moving up in weight classes serious. He did the dieting, he did the training. So I feel like when you put in work like that, it's a win-win. So
So you don't think Crawford, gaining that weight, because I saw him, he's pretty big. You don't
yes.
think that's going to be a disadvantage for him in this fight?
No, it looked like he put it on.
It looks like Crawford is gaining weight the right way. Even though fighting a bigger opponent is tough, his skill, discipline, and hard work will help him adjust well. Jones says Crawford isn't just getting heavier. He's building his body in a way that lets him keep his speed and power. He's not losing what makes him dangerous in the ring. For Jones, this fight shows how focused and dedicated Crawford is, pushing himself to new levels to take on one of the toughest.
The nutrition, the like I said, the training, Crawford, he trains hard. So I feel like I know they say he probably went up to like 185, so he has to lose that weight. But I think if he did it the right way, which I know he did, he'll be successful in September.
And I know you, like we discussed earlier, we talked with your pro debut, and now you're 3-0. Your last fight, July 19th against Blanco, and it was actually your third win by knockout.
Yes.
Super proud of you. How are you feeling about your pro career so far?
I'm feeling great about my pro career. I definitely feel like it's off to a great start. My pro debut in my hometown, and then I was my second fight, Atlantic City on the Boots card, and then my third fight on the Bam Rodriguez undercard. So Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, they're putting me on these cards, shining light on me, giving me the TV time.
Former world champion Paulie Malignaggi has noticed how much bigger Crawford looks for this fight, but instead of seeing it as a problem, he sees it as a big advantage. Malignaggi says Crawford has added size without losing the speed, movement, and timing that make him so good. He explained that most fighters hit slower and less sharp when they move up in weight, but Crawford has managed to stay quick and mobile.
I mean, listen, let's call a spade, right? When you get bigger, you do slow down a little bit, but that doesn't mean he's going to be ineffective at that weight. I think it's a bona fide good point to make. Sometimes it does wind up that way, but I'll give you Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. Put on weight, was muscular as he moved up the weight classes, and it didn't affect him. Good old Manny Pacquiao did the same thing, So there's times where it affects, and there's times where I guess if you put it on the right way. Only Crawford knows it because the way he's training, right? Because you're going to be sparring with this added weight. You're going to be doing the boxing training with this added weight. So you're going to know how to, maybe taper it down if you need to, or keep it going if you need to. I think over the course of camp, if you start to feel too yoked up and, you get big and then, you're sacrificing reflexes, you're sacrificing athleticism, I think you're going to...
Crawford seems to have found the perfect balance. He's gotten stronger and tougher to handle a bigger fighter like Canelo, but he's still fast enough to fight his usual way. Malignaggi praises Crawford's hard work and focus during training, saying the added size actually fits well with his skills. In short, Malignaggi believes Crawford can still perform at his best, even at a higher weight, and the extra power might actually help him deal with Canelo's aggressive style.
Kind of weight. What's your thought about that?
Yeah, well, Roy Jones is Roy Jones, but also Terence Crawford is Terence Crawford. But John Ruiz is not Canelo Alvarez. So that's another aspect of that comparison. And yes, exactly what the champ said, exactly what Abel Sanchez said, you're going to put on weight, you're going to be a different fighter. And I can say this even as a fighter as myself, as I've gotten heavier in my retirement, I try and move around the gym, it just feels different. And even when you start camp, you feel different in the beginning than you do at the end. But listen, we're still 4 or 5 weeks away. I don't know exactly what Terence is weighing right now. And even if he does say what he weighs, man, he's gone out there and said he's weighed, all types of crazy numbers just to get people to get media to respond. So it's really not really going to know until the fight and we see these guys next to each other. He might look bigger right now, but he might not be.
Famous boxing expert Max Kellerman gave a detailed analysis of the fight between TerenceCrawford and Canelo Alvarez. He said Crawford's jab is now one of the best and most accurate in boxing. It's fast, perfectly timed, and helps control how the fight goes. Kellerman mentioned that Canelo used to have a strong jab too, but it's not as good as before. This gives Crawford an advantage because he can keep his distance and score points better. Kellerman also praised Crawford's smart fighting style, saying he can quickly change tactics during the fight and find chances that other fighters miss.
First attribute, best jab.
Crawford.
Best defense.
Crawford. Nowadays, Crawford. I would say early in the fight, Canelo. And earlier in his career, Canelo. But he hasn't been that kind of fighter in recent years. Although Crawford is also hittable. With any fighter, when you talk about their defense, the question is not, can they be hit with a shot? You take punches. Everyone, the greatest defensive fighters ever get hit. Pernell Whitaker, Willie Pep, Floyd Mayweather, they all get hit. The question is, can you hit them with combinations? And both guys are hard to hit. With the two-piece, hard to hit.
So who has the best footwork out of the two?
In terms of cutting off the ring, last fight notwithstanding, Canelo has gotten much better at cutting off the ring.
He compared this to Canelo, who often depends on his natural size, strength, and power to overpower smaller fighters. Kellerman believes that if Crawford can stop Canelo's aggressive moves and make him fight more carefully, the tactical fight will be mostly in Crawford's favor. Kellerman thinks Crawford's mix of technical skill and smart thinking is one of his biggest strengths in this fight.
Problem with that, and was much more comfortable counterpunching. But overall, I have to say Crawford. If you go down the list and ask me about tactical advantages, most of them are Crawford. What Canelo has is size, and as a result, physical strength and punching power. Canelo also has a great chin. But in terms of if you want to go skill for skill, especially the recent version of Canelo, who's had to turn into a seek and destroy guy, who had to learn as his career went on to cut off the ring and not just follow guys around. Like Lara, Trout, Floyd, he followed those guys around. He had trouble because he's really a natural counterpuncher who wants you to come to him. But in recent years at super middleweight, he's gotten really good at cutting off the ring. Again, last fight notwithstanding. So as an overall suite of skills, recent vintage, it's been Crawford.
Okay.
But Canelo also is skilled and has a larger skeleton.
Popular boxing commentator Showbiz the Adult gave a fair and respectful opinion about the fight. He recognized Canelo's physical strength and how hard he trains, which helps him stay strong at the top level. Canelo is tough, can take hits, keep the pressure on, and land sharp counterpunches, making him a dangerous fighter for anyone. At the same time, Showbiz praised Crawford's unique background in wrestling, saying it helps him understand opponents well, respond to their moves, and adjust quickly when under pressure.
He uses his legs, he uses his core, and then his neck itself to lift up Bivol like Bivol was a featherweight. That is a huge representation of how strong Canelo is. When you look at his workouts, you can tell why he was able to do that. All these damn neck exercises that I wouldn't dare do. Okay, that stuff looks painful. The squatting and all that stuff that he's doing is exactly why CaneloAlvarez, honestly, is a strong fighter. He tried to do it again with William Skull. William Skull shook out of it, but he is a bull. Listen, Terence Bud Crawford is strong. He is, okay? And he understands leverage and he understands those things because he wrestled. Honestly, very true. But Saul Canelo Alvarez is also extremely strong.
Across the boxing world, people agree on one main idea. Crawford's plan will decide who wins this fight. Experts say this fight is very important for Crawford's career. Winning against a champion like Canelo could prove Crawford is one of the best ever and remove any doubts about him. To win, Crawford needs to be precise, patient, and ready to change tactics. He should avoid risky fights where Canelo's power can hurt him. Experts think Crawford should focus on keeping the right distance, moving around to stop Canelo's attack, and slowly tiring him out. They say the fight will be about being mentally strong as well as physically fit. The winner will likely be the one who stays calm and follows their plan for all 12 rounds.
Understands that he has to be smart. And I think with this one specifically, it ain't just about being smart. He knows he has to look like he's never looked before. Because again, if he doesn't and he beats Canelo, everybody's just gonna say, well, that's Crawford. You know, so I think he knows that this is the performance of a lifetime and everything has to look right. He knows in order for it to look right, he can't just go out there and let the dog go. The dog is, you know, he got to work his way up to the dog. Hey, show the clip real quick. I don't know if you showed it already, but this is the dog you're talking about right here, right? And so this is, I pulled this clip right here. I seen it on social media this morning.
Don't do that. That's what I'm saying.
And I pulled this clip, right? But this is Terence.
That's who he is.
He's not gonna swing on Canelo. He already know that part of the game. But what I asked you, were you ever trying to send a message to your opponents? He's letting you know, and it's no act. And that's what I really wanted to show. That's not an act.
No.
That's not. There's 30 security guards.
I don't know, it feels a little contrived.
You think so?
I think a lot of people feel it's a little like.
Well, I'm glad you used a big word that most of us don't know.
Hey, I don't fight as good as you guys. I had to learn some big words, right, to make up for that.
Don't look it up. Just ignore what he said.
You need big words to get out of fights. You know, you need big words to get out of fights. But okay. So case in point, our guy Hafey, sitting right there, producer extraordinaire. He had a picture of Terence Crawford in New York for the Crawford-Spence press conference. And there was this look, when Terence, he gave this look to Spence that reminded me of like Dwight Muhammad Qawi and a young George Foreman. And
super middleweight contender Edgar Berlanga shared his thoughts on Crawford's mindset before the fight with Canelo. Berlanga told Crawford to stick to the style and tactics that have made him successful instead of changing too much because of the size difference. He knows moving up 2 weight classes is a big challenge, but also said it makes the fight more even in some ways. Berlanga believes Crawford's skill, boxing intelligence, and ability to adjust are more important than trying to be as big as Canelo. He said Crawford should focus on fighting cleanly, staying disciplined, and keeping calm under pressure. Berlanga thinks that no matter the outcome, Crawford already shows a champion's mindset by taking on such a tough fight. To him, facing the hardest challenges is what makes great fighters stand out. Interview 12.
First of all, he got to go in there and he just got to fight him. You know what I'm saying? He got to go in there. I think Crawford just got to go in there and do what he got to do. You know what I'm saying? He got to just be Crawford, show his IQ, show him why he's a 2-time undisputed, world champion, and go in there with confidence. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. There's a big weight difference, a big weight jump. That could be a difference in a fight. Because obviously, it's like me jumping up to heavyweight. Obviously, I'm a foot of power. I'm a foot of that size difference, compared to my other fights. So I just think that he got to go in there and just be himself. And I said, if he loses, we'll just all know that, hey, he just jumped up 2 weight classes to be great. You know what I'm saying? It's not, he can't really, he's testing himself. He's testing himself a great fighter. So, and I don't doubt him, I don't got no doubt in my mind. He's a 2-time undisputed world champion for a reason. So, and I don't think none's gonna phase him in that fight. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the power, maybe the size, you know what I'm saying? And Canelo, he's not knocking Canelo out. So he just gotta go in there just IQ.
Would you lean towards Canelo still in that fight?
I got faith in him. I think Crawford could do it. You know what I'm saying? I think he could do it. Just like I said, just the size. The only shit that throws the fight off is the size and obviously the power, and Canelo's IQ too, because Canelo got IQ. You know what I'm saying? And Canelo fought a lot much bigger guys. So I know the Crawford's power ain't gonna phase him. I know Crawford's size ain't gonna phase him either. You know what I'm saying? So, but for me, I think it's a 50-50.